You've survived another week. Thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to the Black Man with a Gun Show podcast. Learn and discover American history, training tips, gun reviews, and news from the responsible, family-friendly, safety-conscious gun owners podcast, hosted by me, your friend and brother from another mother, Ken Blanchard. Can you dig it? Thought I'd add a little spice to this week's show. This week in memory of Jemel Roberson, another black man with a gun. My take on the tragedy. Got some Maryland news. A gun review by Michael J. on the Walter Q matched pistol. He digs it. How I explain gun rights to a pretty young college student from American University that proved my Mac Daddy skills aren't gone. And a reminder to celebrate Black Friday as we do every year on this show.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I saw you digging that. If you've been following me this year, I've shared my frustrations on talking about guns, gun rights, without the political rhetoric that folks have grown accustomed to. But on this show, I have an announcement. In 2019, I plan to continue this podcast. I plan to do more, shoot more, travel more, and share more than ever. I plan to spend 2019 growing this thing. I might even stop counting the episodes after 600. I already don't list them like I used to. Look for some videos on the channel on blackmanwithagun.tv, for example, and I'm looking for help, regular, dedicated folks to become part of this thing. Writers, commentators, YouTubers, folks I can trust, share products and swag with, all under one banner, one brand. I'm trying to build a team. I'm trying to build a business. I'm trying to grow something. I'm trying to go. You see, Michael showed me something, and I want to make it bigger than most. I want to NPR this thing, CNN this thing, like a boss. But you don't hear me. Next year, I'm expanding. I'm building a team. And we will crush the rebellion once and for all. Oh, damn. That came out wrong. Okay, I confess I do have a dark side, but I hide it well. The Black Man with a Gun Show has been sponsored by crossbreedholsters.com and the United States Concealed Carry Association. And friends like you. Thank you so much. If you carry a gun for self-defense, be smarter and join the United States Concealed Carry Association so you can be covered in case you have to use the thing to protect your life from the judicial system. Upfront bail bond funding, attorney counseling, personal hardship coverage, membership deals and discounts, firearms theft, liability coverage, and more. Go to uscca.blackmanwithagun.com right now. uscca.blackmanwithagun.com. Shout out to my brother Coleon Noir. Brother, I'll take it from here. In memory of Jemel Roberson. It's another tragic thing to talk about, live through, watch, and mourn, but a black man with a gun was killed by a police officer in Illinois. As a Second Amendment advocate and civil rights activist, I am unfortunately in a familiar place. After over 20 years in this space, I have been here before. Questioned by friends and scolded by enemies, a life was lost and no solution seems worthy. A mother lost her son, a church lost its keyboardist and member. The divide between law enforcement and the community stays wide. After the obvious bloviating, pontifications, and generalities, what? Racism, fear, perceptions, misconceptions, poor training, poor hiring practices, and just plain evil. Some will still blame the gun, race, and the police. The blame game nor politics will bring Jemel back. I am praying for our nation. We haven't overcome. We haven't achieved the dream. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said, "Let us not wallow in the valley of despair. I say to you today, my friends, that in spite of difficulties and frustrations of the moment, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." Last Sunday, in a place called Manny's Blue Room Lounge in Robbins, Illinois, on the 11th of November, about 4 a.m., following a verbal confrontation among several patrons, a fight escalated, and then one left briefly, only to return armed and open fire, striking several people inside the establishment. Police officers from Robbins, Midlothian, and other suburban departments responded. 4 other men were injured in the ensuing exchange of gunfire. The Midlothian officer who responded to the shots fired arrived and fatally shot Jemel Roberson, an armed security guard working at the bar. The state police report says that officers readily provided medical assistance to multiple gunshot victims, including Roberson. Roberson was transported to a local area hospital where he later died. The preliminary investigation revealed Roberson, 26, of Chicago, was attempting to subdue a subject suspected to be involved in an initial shooting at the lounge. First, let's mourn. Let's grieve the loss of life, the loss of Jemel Roberson, the guy who worked as a church organist and lived alone in Chicago's West Side, a child of God who loved music and basketball, who wanted to be a police officer himself. How about sending a little bit of love to his family? Secondly, how about we just stop and prepare for the onslaught of exploiters, paparazzi, and media whores that do this for their own gain at the expense of those who will march and protest? Let us look for solutions. The obvious ones are better training for law enforcement, diversity, sensitivity, etc., better hiring processes. I'm not sure if there's anything real that we can do. And when the trial comes, don't be surprised with what you hear. The Fraternal Order of Police and the defense attorneys will do their best to exonerate the police officer. It's a part of the job. Most of the details will get lost because the facts are not sensational. Truth is, officers fear for their lives. You can't see what's going on in the mind of anybody, police included, during the hiring process. The fear of an armed black man is still real in 2018. Not with you and me, I know. But out there. Out there, a good guy with a gun is not presumed to be an African American. It is still psychological that a black man with a gun is a bad guy. My work isn't done. Your work isn't done. Everybody that advocates for the Second Amendment is a black man with a gun. But literally, it's a risky exercise of freedom. I am at risk right now because I do not know what is behind of the officer that will be called on my account. In the courtroom, you will not hear the circumstances that led up to the officer's fear. It'll be the job of the defense attorney to convince the court that what happened was reasonable, not ethical, not moral, not human, not civil, not judicious, not fair, just reasonable. At the time of this recording, I am still wearing a uniform. I'm a veteran. I have been a federal police officer, a police instructor. Now I'm an armed security guard again in my life. And I've been advocating for the rights of all gun owners since 1991. I am the black man with a gun. Unfortunately, this is our reality. Nothing can change until we change how we respond to each other, our understanding and our perceptions of one another. Though shootings of security guards and off-duty police officers by law enforcement are still rare, they still happen. I can give you a handful of cases right off the top of my head. Back in 2009, an off-duty black New York City officer, wearing street clothes and holding a service weapon, was shot and killed by his fellow police as he chased a man who had broken into his car. In that same year, undercover officers in Brooklyn, New York, responded to a report at a bar fight, shot and killed a 43-year-old security guard, police said, pointed a gun at them. A year earlier, in White Plains, New York, a black off-duty Mount Vernon officer who was holding an assault suspect at gunpoint was fatally shot by a Westchester County officer. A 73-year-old night watchman at the recycling center was fatally shot by officers in 2012 in Florida after they spotted him carrying a gun when they arrived in response to a call of an intruder. Police later said that the man was not wearing anything that identified him as security. Back in 2000, an off-duty police sergeant, just happened to be African American, in Rhode Island was shot and killed by two uniformed colleagues as he tried to break up a fight in a parking lot. A former Portland, Oregon police chief said, "Part of the reason the problem's so bad in policing is there are people who are drawn to the job for the gun, the badge, and the authority. And everybody else just keeps their mouth shut." As a man of faith, I am praying for the Robersons, for Illinois, our community, and our nation. May God continue to bless the United States of America. Need some ammo? Check out ammo.com. It's your best source for ammunition online. The shipping is fast, the customer service is good, and they sell name brands you can trust. ammo.com. And if you like saving money as much as I do, use the link ammo.com/black man with a gun. All right, next up, your friend and mine, Michael J. Woodland.
Thank you, Ken, and welcome to another Tips and Review segment. I am Michael Woodland, and today we're going to talk about the Walther Arms Q5 match. Not too long ago, I got my hands on the Q5 match. Never shooting a firearm from Walther, this elegant-looking firearm caught me off guard. For starters, the Q5 match is designed for those who are seasoned in competition shooting, but can work for those who are looking to get into competition shooting as well. May I suggest for those who are looking to do some serious shooting without making any major modifications to the firearm, then here you go. This handgun is so well designed, the hardest struggle for me was to decide which hand grip to select. So let's dive into this firearm and run through the technical data. After opening the hard plastic box, you will see the Q5 match with a magazine inserted, 2 magazines that give you a total of 3 15-round magazines, a Walther magazine loader, the tools for the optic plate replacement with rear sight adjustments, DOJ lock, 3 RMR plates that can house a Trijicon, Leopold, and Dr. Red Dot optics, chamber empty flag, a total of 3 back straps that come in small, medium, and large, full color instruction manual, and the test firing target. Let's start off with the hand grip and work our way around the firearm. Their grip is made with a non-slip cross-directional pattern that will provide comfort and ease with controlling. It truly feels comfortable in my hands, but might take it a notch higher and get some aggressive stippling done. That will come after I run the Q5 like it is for about 2 or 3 months. Moving up to the slide stop, it is an ambidextrous slide stop that is long enough to eliminate the need to search for a small tab or indent. For those who like to use gloves while shooting, this slide stop was designed for you. There are 5 slide serrations on the rear and 5 on the front on both the left and right side. The front serrations are combined with a cutout that can assist with gripping that could be used to pull the upper receiver to the rear, as well as assisting with cooling the barrel. The rear serrations are not that deep, but are functional with dry hands. The optic mounting platform is an easily functionable replacement accessory for those who are looking to change out from the regular sights to use that of an RMR. As stated earlier, the Q5 comes with 3 plates that house the attachments for Leopold, Trijicon, and Dr. Red Dot optics for the handgun. Again, another quality to this firearm that gives it more bang for its buck. The sights that come on this handgun are from LPA. The front sight post houses a red fiber optic, while the rear sight is blacked out. In addition to the rear sight, it is fully adjustable for your desired use. When adjusting the elevation for the rear sight, it moves 0.4 inches or 10 millimeters at 25 yards. When adjusting the windage, it moves 0.2 inches or 5 millimeters at 25 yards. Making our way down to the Picatinny rail, it's like any other firearm that allows you to use a flashlight or a laser. The Q5 has a red indicator to show when the handgun is loaded. You can find this on the right side with the serration cut on the rear end of the ejector. Now onto the trigger. The trigger is named the Quick Defense Trigger, which will give you a smooth 5.6 pound pull. The travel reset is at 0.1 inch to allow for a faster follow-on shot. Remember, we said competition ready. Are you ready to place your order yet? Even though this handgun does not come with a physical safety, it does have 3 internal safeties overall: a firing pin block for safe carry, a drop safety, and the trigger safety. If you are one who likes to use technical data, let me try this for you. The Q5 match comes in 9mm with a barrel length of 5 inches, a trigger pull of 5.6 pounds, comes with 3 magazines, overall length of 8.1 inches, height is 5.3 inches with a 1.4 inch width with 3 auto safeties, and comes in with an empty weight of 29.7 ounces. If you are looking for a quality handgun to get into competition shooting, then the Walther Arms Q5 match can be the answer for you. If you want me to put it into perspective for you, here it goes. When I purchased my Smith & Wesson M&P, it cost me $500, and I sent it off to get some work done that totaled $1,200. That's $1,700 pretty much for a race gun on a Smith & Wesson M&P platform. Now, the Walther Q5 match comes with all the work already done with extra accessories that comes in at a MSRP of $850. My search shows that some places are selling the Q5 as low as $730. Now, do the math. The Q5 match is a handgun for those who are in the realm of competition shooting, ready for the stages out the box. For those who are looking to contact me, visit blackmanwiththegun.com, and under the About tab, click on my name, Michael Woodland, and shoot me an email at info@m-wtactical.com or call me at 803-250-1256. Please, if I do not answer, leave a voicemail or a text message, and I promise I will get back to you. Until next time, keep shooting, keep practicing, and have fun. Back to you, Ken.
In the news this week, we got 2 stories from ammoland.com from 2 friends, John Crump and Rob Morse, from slowfacts.com. Both of these stories are Maryland news. Ferndale, Maryland, at 5:17 a.m. on Monday, November 5th, 2018, in Anne Arundel County, Maryland man was shot and killed in his home by police as they tried to carry out a red flag gun confiscation order. Red flag laws give the police the right to confiscate firearms from a person without due process through something called an extreme risk protection order. All it takes for a judge to issue an extreme risk protection order is one person stating that the subject is a danger to themselves or others. With extreme risk protection orders, authorities do not give the accused a chance to rebuke the charges before the judge issues the order to take the accused person's firearms. The first red flag law was passed in Connecticut in 1999, but did not spread until recently. In fact, before this year, only 5 states had red flag laws. Before 2014, only 2 states had the law on the books. Now, 13 states have red flag laws. One of the big pushes for red flag laws in Connecticut was the number of people committing suicide. Connecticut claimed that these laws significantly reduced gun-related suicides, but a Centers for Disease Control and Prevention study shows that these red flag laws only prevented 1.6% of gun-related suicides in Connecticut. The CDC study also shows that some of these people went on to commit suicide by other means. Now, while we do not have data on how often these orders are approved, we can look at search warrants issued to police to get a feel on what their approval rates will be for these orders. According to the Libertas Institute, the courts approve 98% of all search warrants. Most shocking is that in their research of warrants in Utah, they found the courts approved 60% of these orders in less than 3 minutes. Since the burden of proof for a search warrant is much higher than a single person's statement, we can deduce that the courts will issue extreme risk protection orders at the same or a higher rate than that of search warrants. The red flag law is a relatively new law in the state of Maryland. Governor Larry Hogan signed the bill, HB 1302, into law in May of this year, and the law went into effect on the 1st of last month. In a little over a month of going into effect, tragedy struck as police arrived at the door of Gary Willis just before dawn to serve the extreme risk protection order and seized a 60-year-old's guns. According to police, Gary Willis opened the door with a pistol in his hand. He initially put the gun down, but picked it back up again, and then, quote, became irate at law enforcement when they tried to serve him an order. A struggle began for the gun between Willis and one of the officers at the scene. According to Anne Arundel County Police spokesperson, Sergeant Jacqueline Davis, a second officer at the home of Willis, shot and killed a Ferndale man. None of the officers trying to serve the warrant were hurt. Michelle Willis is the niece of Gary Willis. She described her uncle as a person that likes to speak his mind but was harmless. She stated that her uncle wasn't a danger to anyone and questioned the police's response. The niece also said that her aunt took out the order on Willis. She said it was just, quote, family being family. Police are also being tight-lipped about the cause for the order to be taken out on Willis due to being legally restrained to the amount of information that can be released to the public because of the law dealing with extreme risk protection orders. All information in this case is automatically marked confidential and cannot be released. It takes a court order to unseal an extreme risk protection order. Gun rights advocates, along with civil liberty activists, have long complained that it is easier to get an extreme risk protection order than to find out the reason for the order. Overall, there have been 114 petitions in Maryland during October, and Arundel County accounted for 19 of these petitions. And this next one is from Rob Morse, a pharmacist in Princess Anne, Maryland, used his gun to save lives. Maryland's gun control laws failed again, but self-defense worked just fine to stop this crime. 2 men walked into the pharmacy with ski masks over their faces. Employees later estimated that both men were over 6 feet tall. The armed robbers pointed their rifle at the nearest cashier. Then the robbers ordered the store staff and customers to lie on the ground. They demanded the store employees hand over narcotics from the pharmacy. The pharmacist came out of his office and saw the attackers threatening his staff and customers. The pharmacist shot at the armed robbers with his legally owned handgun. The robbers ran. How could this possibly happen? Maryland politicians say gun control laws would protect us from violent criminals. The answer is simple. Rights restricting politicians lied. Look at the numerous Maryland laws that fail to protect honest citizens. Robbery is illegal in Maryland. Conspiring with others to commit robbery is illegal. Using a gun to commit robbery is illegal and has been for hundreds of years. The criminals don't read those laws, but criminals had no trouble seeing the store owner's gun and clearly got the message. The criminals aren't listening to Maryland's new gun control regulations, but they heard the gunshot loud and clear. Given that the subsequent police investigation was conducted by the Gang Crimes Unit, I'll claim that the criminals didn't bother with the required firearms background checks that are required to buy a long gun at a gun store. Does it shock you that criminals don't obey state and federal gun laws? Gang members don't consult the Maryland's registry of, quote, approved firearms for possession or transfer. Those laws only infringe on the rights of honest gun owners. Those gun laws disarm law-abiding people, but they certainly do not disarm these criminals. The Maryland assault weapons ban and the Maryland magazine capacity restrictions didn't stop these gang members from breaking those laws. I'm sure Maryland legislators are aghast that criminals don't follow their latest regulations. The rest of us told you so. Honest and law-abiding Maryland citizens can't carry a loaded firearm in a motor vehicle without a permit like these criminals did as they drove to the pharmacy. Honest citizens can't carry a loaded gun in public or carry a concealed firearm without a Maryland wear and carry permit. Unfortunately, most people in Maryland are denied their state-issued wear and carry permits. Were the gang members disarmed, or were honest citizens disarmed by Maryland gun laws? A judge didn't see fit to claim these three gang members, the two robbers and their getaway driver, were a threat to themselves or others. Despite their history of violence, the Maryland red flag law didn't work to disarm these criminals. At this point, is anyone surprised? Maryland gun laws don't disarm criminals, but they do disarm honest citizens. And being disarmed makes us easier victims. When faced with rising violent crime, Maryland politicians repeat their failed policy prescriptions and propose to disarm more of us. Instead, let's learn from this example. Criminals threaten the lives of innocent people. Because he had a gun, the pharmacist stopped the threat even though he was outnumbered and faced large and powerful adversaries. Guns in the hands of honest citizens saved lives and kept dangerous drugs off Maryland streets. Armed defense saves lives thousands of times a day. We will all be safer when more honest citizens legally own and carry a firearm. Well said, Brother Rob. If you want to find some really good stuff, go to slowfacts.wordpress.com and check out what Rob is putting down. But you can find him and Brother John Crump at ammoland.com. MarylandShallIssue.org. It's an all-volunteer, nonpartisan organization dedicated to the preservation and advancement of gun owners' rights in Maryland. It seeks to educate the community about the right of self-protection, the safe handling of firearms, and the responsibility that goes with carrying a firearm in public. MarylandShallIssue.org. This is the group, your group, the grassroots group in the state of Maryland. Join us, no matter where you are. MarylandShallIssue.org. Last week, while the tragedy was happening in Illinois, I got a chance to attend a DC Podfest. It was the DC's version of the podcast movement. It was pretty good. Probably about a good 110, 115 people there. And everybody was trying to find solutions to their problems, trying to get motivated, trying to learn some new tech, some new techniques, see what the pros were doing, see what would be a better use of time and how to do your stuff better. And I got a little invigorated, a little motivated. And there was a whole bunch of college kids there, even some high school students interested in podcasting. And I got interviewed by a student from America U. It was pretty cool. And well, actually two students from American University. And one of them was anti-gun, I could tell. As soon as I said my podcast was called Black Man with a Gun, her face changed. And I thought, only because she doesn't know where to go with it. So I gave her some of these words. History tells us that humanity hasn't changed much since the Stone Age. We still have biases, prejudices, and fears based on ignorant choices. Also, our environment. You see, gun control isn't new. It has been a thing before the Chinese invented gunpowder. People in power want to control who has access to weapons. And it has nothing to do with protecting regular people like you and me. The truth is, weapons are never the problem. It is mankind. We still hate, we still kill, steal, and destroy. It is still evil. Then there are the people that don't know any better about gun control by either their choice, their ignorance, or their environment. There are those that profit from gun control on both sides of the argument, and regular people are in the middle of it. As a result of some of America's evil history, we have enslaved generations of people legally for economic and selfish reasons, and that curse is still alive. Gun control is based on that. So to protect those evil practitioners, laws were created to prevent people of color from owning ammo, parts of guns, and firearms. It was done in the name of altruism, religion, magnanimity, to protect these lesser humans from themselves. That sounds insulting, doesn't it? And she nodded her head. I said, well, that is gun control. It is still the most restrictive in places where the population of people of color is the highest. The problem is evil, not guns. The problems is poverty and crime and desperation and hopelessness and war and hate and greed and violence and selfishness. We have all these things without guns, and getting rid of them doesn't change us, but is used to placate and pacify the ignorant and those that choose not to know. We have Google, and you can look up history and Bing and Yahoo and the search engines all over the place, and you can discover the truth, but nobody looks. So I said, let's talk about you for a minute. What if you didn't grow up around guns? And she said she didn't. What if your family didn't have a tradition of hunting? And she says, no, they didn't. So what if you never served in the military or the law enforcement? Let's just say you wanted to live free, to be happy in yourself, and you just bought your first house. It's a beautiful house. Maybe you just got married or just started a family. And now because you own something that you care about, that you have people that you care about, you wanted to protect them. So you decided to buy a firearm to protect yourself from the evil that men can do. And you are not a bad person. You're the same person who's interviewing me right now. And she was smiling and nodding her head, and I gave her my best big doughy eyes I could. I said, you have never committed a felony. You want a gun to keep criminals, terrorists, and evil away from yourself. You know that you don't have to be a victim. You're a free-thinking person. As soon as you decide to purchase a firearm, your life changes, though. You have to go through a process. The degree of that process depends on where you live, and you will suddenly be classified as a gun owner. You will be now blamed for every crime, every murder, every terrorist event. Even though you've never identified with the National Rifle Association or any pro-gun organization before, it is now assumed that you are. You are, like my card says, a black man with a gun. So smiling, with my big Ken Blanchard smile, looked at her and says, you are now a minority. You are now in a group you may have thought you knew about. You may have even despised them before. But you are now one of us. How does that feel? You see, this podcast, this card that you're holding, is for the responsible, the law-abiding, regular people like you and me that just so happens to also be a gun owner. You love yourself, you love your family, and our great but not so perfect nation called America. And I'm your friend and your brother from another mother, Reverend Ken Blanchard. This is what this podcast is about. So after I finished my monologue, I looked up at her, and she looked like Cindy Lou from The Grinch That Stole Christmas, and her eyes were all big, and she was smiling, and I thought, ooh, It's been a while since I made somebody look like that. I better get out of here. And she smiled and said, oh, I'm just so happy. And I thought, yeah, time to roll, big guy. And off I went. Don't know if it was the eyes, the voice, or my words, but something changed. I think she'll buy a gun soon. If you've been listening to the Urban Shooter podcast, now called the Black Man with a Gun Show, for a while, you know that right around Thanksgiving is when I actually started this show, 13 years ago. And in celebration of that, we always also celebrate Black Friday. And I put a little twist to it. I said that Black Friday is not the biggest shopping day of the year. It's the day when you should say hello and appreciate all your African-American friends. It's the day when you just show some love to Black people. So celebrate with me the true meaning of Black Friday.
I love Black people. I love Black people. I love Black people. I love Black
people. Get the book that started it all. Black Man with a Gun, Reloaded. It's the story of a man who's helped change gun rights in America, one heart at a time. It's a primer for the firearms enthusiast, and it's a fun read. It's the story of Ken Blanchard. Get yours on Amazon.com. Black Man with a Gun, Reloaded.
All right, that means it's time to slide on out of here. I want to thank you for being with me. Thank you for being my friend all this time. Thank you for supporting this show. Thank you for contributing, even if you didn't know you were. Sometimes I needed a little push, a little enthusiasm, a little motivation, and you sent me the email or you called. Thank you for that. Thanks to Michael for his review and for just being around. Don't forget you can get this on an app for your phone on Android and iOS. Look for it and wherever you can find the apps, look for the Black Man with a Gun app. It's free. Paid for actually by Patreon supporters like you. And if you're not a supporter, please consider it for the price of maybe a cup of Starbucks coffee once a month would help out a lot. If you didn't know it, I have a new podcast. You can find it at kenspodcast.com. And I would love if I could just amplify the numbers, if I could just get 100 people to subscribe to it. It'd be really cool. It's going to be the Everything Else podcast. There's Speak Life Church, the ministry. There is Black Man with a Gun, which you listen to right now. There's Motorcycle Talk, which is not going anywhere. It's going to be around. I'm just trying to wait till I get the proper motivation to start that back up. But Ken's podcast, The Ken Blanchard Show, is back, and it's going to have a whole bunch of like fun stuff in it. I'm going to act a fool on it, and I'm looking for like 100 new subscribers. So if you could, check it out, kenspodcast.com, or look for The Ken Blanchard Show. Until next week, remember, if you want to lift yourself up, lift up somebody else. Until next week, just in case nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Until then, shalom, baby.